great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into the new album, Love Song, and your career trajectory so far. So thanks for taking a minute out.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. So before we get in to Love Song and your life and music, I want to know this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing everything for all of us, especially musicians. How did you get through that era, and how did it either influence this recording or the way that you do things now as a musician?
Well, it's interesting because when the pandemic happened, I was maybe, I was a junior in high school. I
Yeah.
was 16, 17. So like a lot of the effects, I mean, I was in Greenwich, Connecticut. There aren't a lot of gigs out there by any means. So I wouldn't say I missed out on a lot of work opportunities like older musicians may have, but it was more like personal developments, like my junior prom and things like that, like the
Yeah.
silly things. But in some ways, it definitely I benefited in some ways in that like there were new avenues for mentorship and new opportunities because of like Zoom lessons, things of that sort. I mean, I met I went to an MSM pre-college program when I was yeah, during the pandemic. And I met a saxophonist, Remy LaBeouf, through that.
Yeah.
Amazing composer, a Grammy nominee, and he's been someone that's been like really huge in my writing. Like he basically taught me how to write from scratch. So
Yeah.
I would say like, yeah, I wouldn't without him, I mean, I wouldn't be writing. I wouldn't have written Love Song. I wouldn't have written basically anything. I don't know if I'd even be a composer. I might just be a sax player playing jazz standards. So,
Yeah. So talk to me about the album. What was the idea? What was the artistic vision? And how good does it feel that it's completed?
so it's just a single as of now. We're
Okay.
recording the album this week,
Okay.
but
Cool. Okay.
yeah, but I would say, I mean, I'm very glad that it's completed. I'm very, um, there's definitely a feeling of pride because it's my first release. It's great to have something into the world. Um, yeah, I'm just proud of all the amazing musicians that played on it. I'm proud to be able to tell my story. I'm excited for the things that are coming up.
Well, and I guess that's the part of it too. This is like your initial shout out into the world of jazz. Did you feel pressure? What's the collective feeling of having this as kind of your stamp on the jazz world?
I wouldn't say I felt pressure by any means because I mean, the jazz world is so big. Like there are so many different voices. Everyone I feel like has a place to be able to express themselves. Um, I wasn't necessarily concerned about like making a giant impact or like trying to like impress a bunch of people. I'm not concerned with like proving my virtuosity as a sax player, for example. But I'm more concerned with like creating music that I think people will resonate with both inside and outside of jazz and, things that people will hopefully enjoy and like.
So take me back to your beginnings in Connecticut. How did music and more specifically jazz become your life?
So it's a bit of a weird story because I don't really come from a musical family at all.
Yeah.
Like my dad worked in shipping. My mom, I mean, yeah, she worked in like IT for a period of time. Um, I would I always played saxophone. Like I started in like fourth grade, and it was like that like extracurricular activity that like your mom forces you into
Yeah.
at first. I was definitely one of those kids. I would play like five or six sports in like middle school or something like that. I was always like an athlete and thought that like I was going to go into sports management or something in that lane. But as I got older and older, saxophone continued to stay with me. I continued playing, and one year I think in high school I got literally I auditioned for regionals, which is like, the competitive thing to like be the best sax player in your region, whatever. I got the lowest score in the entire region playing jazz. Absolute lowest. Um, I got pretty motivated by that. Yeah, I got pretty irritated and I basically practiced like 8 hours a day, like every day for like years straight, something along those lines. And by the end of that, I knew I was going to be a jazz saxophonist. I just knew there was no other path that I was going to do.
Who were early influences? Who did you emulate? What albums did you listen to?
I would be remiss if I didn't say Bird first, Charlie Parker. I can't not say Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
Um, but Charlie, Train, of course, Cannonball. Um, on the modern side of things, I mean, Braxton Cook, absolutely. Um, Ben Wendell, Kneebody. It's kind of like a mix of like, lineage and like some of the newer stuff, but I kind of listen to everything from all eras. I mean, I also grew up like in a non-jazz background, so like I grew up going to rock shows with my dad. So like
Yeah.
all of my tunes are very like fusion, like rock bass, things of that sort. I try and combine a little bit of everything.
Man, I love Kneebody. I love that whole advent of kind of the electronica and that just kind of pushing the boundaries of jazz, kind of like Miles was doing. Um,
Absolutely.
It's interesting when you talk about your story about how you really tried and got in there and were determined to become a musician. I thought about Bird when you were talking about that, when he had that cymbal that was thrown during his gig. Have you heard about that fame? Yeah. So, I mean, he went gung ho after that. We have local, a local radio host and jazz historian named Chuck Haddock. He's like his memory is a steel trap, and he's written all kinds of things about Bird. And I remember that story about how he went to the Ozarks and really honed his skills. But like when that happened, it's like he just completely got into a zone where he was never going to have anybody butcher or get on him about his playing ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess at the time I had heard of that bird story, so I
Yeah,
guess I was sort of going for that,
yeah.
and I did not turn into bird, unfortunately. That's never going to happen. So,
There,
but that's what I was
yeah,
trying to emulate.
yeah. No, there will never be another Bird. So
Ever.
I was going to ask you. So this would be a two-part question. What was the first show your dad took you to, or first seminal concert you saw, and what was the first jazz show that you saw that left an impression?
Ooh. Uh, the first show I ever saw was it's kind of funny. Motley Crue. It was like it was supposed to be their farewell concert at MSG, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
I mean, they continued to do a few more,
of
but
course.
it was supposed to be their last show. That was my first show, which was a crazy experience to look back on, especially now.
Yeah.
But um, my first jazz show, huh? I don't know which one came first,
Okay.
but I saw Emmett Cohen. It was a Valentine's Day show. It was Emmett Cohen with Tavon Pennicott, who I ended up studying with years later.
Yeah.
Um, Benny Benack, that group, and then also I saw Braxton Cook at Elsewhere.
Very cool. Yeah. Tavon came to town for our Charlie Parker celebration. We have a week in Kansas City that we celebrate his music at clubs all around, and he was kind of the ambassador for a few years when he was here. When I was probably 12 years old, I don't know how my parents did this. I mean, things were pretty lax with me. I was the youngest of three. I went to see Motley Crue at Kemper Arena in Kansas City, the Theater of Pain. It was the craziest thing, dude.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
have no idea why anybody would have done it. People were shooting bottle rockets off. Girls were just disrobing everywhere. It was chaos. Nikki Sixx was like tripping the sound guy that was trying to fix his bass. It was chaos,
yeah.
So it's wild, man, But
Definitely a different time. By the time that I was doing it, most of the fans are like, getting older, so no one's
yeah,
going that crazy.
yeah.
That was one hell of a 12-year-old experience.
Yeah, but it was still wild to see Tommy Lee get in that kind of oscillating globe and go around. No one had ever really done anything like that. And we're just up there like, how is he doing this upside down? How is this happening?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah, it is wild. So let me ask you this. What gets you up every day? What motivates you to continue to hammer away at this jazz craft, grow as a musician, make music? What is that impulsion with you every day?
That's a great question. I would say, I mean, jazz is a huge part of just who I am. Being a musician is such a huge part of like, I don't know, what I want to be. I want to be a musician on the scene. I want to be someone that does this for a living. When I'm on stage, that feeling of like playing and having a moment where the band hits like the peak at the same time, things of that sort, there's nothing like that, like in any experience in the world, in my opinion. And I just want to get myself like to the level where I can do that more, and of course, more.
So let me ask you this. Being a young player, you're going into an idiom that is not historically known for a lot of notoriety, a lot of money, a lot of fame. Jazz is just not that. It's not that realm. There's very few that are out there. And I'm not saying that that's why musicians go in, but you're definitely walking in to a place where you're going to have to work in a different way than other jazz genres. Has any of that played into how is that, I guess, how has that shaped the way that you are looking at your career and the way that you're going after it?
Well, I've had to accept that to a degree. I mean, like even Joe Henderson was a doorman, things of that sort. It's just not a career path that's going to make money, but within that, there is some liberation,
Yeah.
I like to think, because you can. I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but you can kind of express yourself in whatever way you want, and either way, like there is no true commercial. There is
Right.
no true like selling out and making so much money unless there's another Kenny G coming around, which seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess that's the answer.
Yeah.
It's
No, I get it. And I even think about Bird. I don't know that Bird ever really got the adulation or the money or the fame for everything that he was doing before he left.
yeah, so many don't. And I mean, I've post grad, I've been working a job even just to like make ends meet and that sort. Like I'm a music publicist, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I get it. Yeah, well, I mean, and I'm doing my radio show basically on the house, so I get it. It's a labor of love, and that's kind of the way this is. And you have these rare instances. I actually live in the hometown of where Pat Metheny's from, and he's
Hmm.
one of those examples, like Christian McBride and other cats like that that are relatively mainstream. So
Yeah.
it's not that it doesn't happen, but I'm always curious with the younger crop because you're walking into a world where there's going to be a different level of work. There's going to be a different level of things than other genres.
Absolutely. And I mean, also now of all times where you have like AI basically creating jazz and
Yeah.
Spotify and certain platforms, paying you like a third of a cent per stream. Like it's a very difficult time to be going into this music, but that makes it even more important.
Well, and I think too, the one thing that's a trade-off with the world of jazz is that the community is so wonderful. Jazz musicians tend to be some of the finest humans on the planet, and the elders are always so good about wanting to teach and keep this fire burning. They're very cognizant of this art form and where it needs to go. Do you feel that from the jazz elders that you've been around?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, especially when I was in university, the professors always like went out of their way to try and like steer me in the right path. I mean, even if I go to a session, there's it's always like a family to some capacity. There's always some competitiveness in New York City because, iron sharpens iron, things of that sort. But there are so many different mentors that have taken me under their wing, and some of them aren't even that much older than me. Like I currently study with Braxton Cook. Like he's not that much older than me, or Remy LaBeouf is only 10 years older than me. There's always like I've been amazed at the level of mentorship and camaraderie that's been shown.
So the one thing about New York City is that it launches thousands of dreams for all the musicians that go there. There's just so much going on. It's a fertile playground. What's been a stage that you played on where you were like, I can't believe this is happening? And what stage do you ultimately want to play on in New York?
So I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to play a lot of the big ones. Like I've been able to play at Birdland, I've been able to play at Dizzy's and the Appel Room. Um, I think, I mean, Birdland was a crazy
Yeah.
experience. I
Yeah.
was I was absolutely mind blown. We were on the main stage. It was absolutely unbelievable. That was with a big band, and it was really it was just one of those experiences where it's like, wow, like, so I do want to do this. I want to do more of this. I want to get to the point where I can do this like every month or something.
Yeah.
But I would say where I want, so of course there's the Blue Note. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, but a lot of like, my favorite venue to play in New York City has always been New Blue,
Yeah.
which is a new one, jazz fusion venue, which it's just really awesome. I played my single release show there 2 nights ago, and they've always been so good to me. The sound's great, the vibe is off the charts. I don't know. I will say that the Blue Note is the New York City venue that I would love to get to one day, and
Yeah.
there are tons of venues around the world that I would love to get to as well.
You know, speaking of fusion, this last weekend in Kansas City, we had kind of the return of our Kansas City Jazz and Blues Festival. It went away for like 20 years. And one of the marquee acts that was there that night was Stanley Clark, and I was
Oh
there
yeah.
taking photos, and I was right there. And man, he was hitting it. As the long as he's been around, it was powerful. He was going after it. It was really cool to just, from Return to Forever to everything that he's doing right now, that he's consistently done. It's just fusion is it's a very unique niche, but man, to see it live and to feel it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to see Stanley Clark yet. I'm dying to.
Yeah.
It's top of my list.
Yeah, he was hitting it, man. I mean, the minute they came out, there was a violin player, there was an organ player, and then at one point on an acoustic bass, he was doing a solo, and he was just hitting that bass. I mean, you could just hear it going. So, he's definitely a master. So why do you love this art form we call jazz that you're dedicating your life to? Why do you love it?
I there are a few answers, I would say. Um, Part of it is that yeah, it's just who I am at this point. But also, how do I how do I best phrase this? Jazz is a place where like you can creatively express yourself through music in a way that no other place really can. Like no other type of music can. Like in a rock gig, sure, you can play like the pentatonic scale or something of that sort, but jazz, like a lot more options are on the table. You get to really like, I don't want to say speak your truth, but I guess that's the best way to say it. It's there's no better way to be able to express yourself, and I think that's one of the main things about why I love it, and also like the deep history, the lineage, the community, all of these other things come together just to create something that is beautiful in a way that many other genres don't necessarily have.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one jazz show with your own eyes, where are you going?
Charlie Parker,
Okay.
no doubt,
Yeah,
no doubt.
that was
I
fast.
have to.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone on the bandstand that you play with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Uh, I think that I'm someone that's just trying to make music that, everyone can relate to, everyone can understand, everyone can enjoy. I think that's really my main goal is to create music that both expresses myself and can be related to by others. And I think that's important for a lot of musicians, like to be able to resonate. And I mean, it's deeper than that, of course,
Right.
but I think on the surface level, I mean, I just want to be someone that other people can see themselves in, I guess.
Yeah. So 10 years from now, let's say we have an interview, we catch up, and I ask you what's going on. What's the first thing you want to tell me?
I think the first thing I want to say is that, I'm touring around the world playing music, of
Yeah.
course, playing my own music. And hey, I'd love to be a sideman as well, playing with some really great people, but my main goal has always been to be a band leader. And that's why I'm starting so early releasing my music now.
So if anybody wants to pick up the love song, they want to check out any of your live shows, what's going on, any of the good business in your world, where do they go?
Yes, so of course my website, that's a good place to start, connorsobieri.io. I mean, there you have links to my Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, things of that sort. You can find Love Song wherever you stream music, literally everywhere. we're recording the album this weekend, so definitely more to come there.
Yeah.
Very excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And follow me on Instagram for most of my updates. That would be the main thing.
Okay, cool, man. This has been great. Thank you, man. Thank you for reaching out to the show. It's great to meet you. Best of luck with your career, and hopefully we do run into each other down the line after the album comes out.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You bet, man. And